Volgograd on June the 18th against Tunisia. The middle game will be a week later, just shy of a week later, against Panama, and that'll be in Nizhny Novgorod. And then the final one, Kaliningrad, for England against Belgium. Belgium are the group seeds, and that is on June the 28th, and that will be the final evening of group matches. As you can see, Jose Fonte of West Ham and Portugal has joined us as well. We'll get his thoughts in just a moment. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't want to say it's a good group or a bad group, because I've heard it so many times over the years. Yeah, it brings back memories, that opening game, Tunisia back in 1998. Scoring, winning. So
here it is.
Great header.
Unbelievable. You seem to have made a whole World Cup draw back yourself again. It's absolutely remarkable.
It wasn't a bad ball in either. This wasn't a bad goal, eh?
But I suppose what they do have, Paul Scholes with his second one on a very hot afternoon in France when England beat Tunisia. I suppose what this group does have, it has Panama, who you said you didn't want because it's difficult to get going for something like that game, but it does have the attraction of Belgium, where both sets of players are going to know each other very well.
Yeah, and also we talked earlier about the distance in travel, but if I read that correctly, I think it's 6 days after our first game. So we got 6 days rest after our first game, which, if they are worried about travel, etc., that shouldn't be an issue.
What about Panama, Tim?
First World Cup. It's a lovely presence for a group of players. The majority are in their mid-30s. I can't see them doing what Costa Rica did in Brazil. I can't see them defending.
Let's not go there.
And if we want to make this all about Alan Shearer, let's do that, because Panama are coached by the Colombian Hernan Dario Gomez, has steeped in World Cup experience, took Ecuador to their first World Cup in 2002, was assistant coach for Colombia in 1990 and 94, and was coach of Colombia in 1998 when they couldn't cope with Alan Shearer.
He has done his homework, hasn't he?
He really has, yeah. That's why we book him as a guest,
Brilliant.
Alan. Let's talk to Jose then, because as you can see on the screen, fascinating group for Portugal. I say fascinating. Spain, Morocco and Iran. What are your feelings on that?
Definitely a good group to watch. As I was saying to Alan, we have to play them all.
Yeah.
And very exciting first game. Morocco's strong. They've done very well in the qualification. And Iran with the Portuguese manager, Carlos Queiroz, will be interesting as well. So
is it good to get Spain out of the way first, which is what you will do, as you can see fixtures on the screen in Sochi on June the 15th?
Definitely a very important game. It's the first one. It's always a tricky one, as Alan can concur with that. It's always difficult to go into the first game, but hopefully we can present ourselves in a good way and get a good result against Spain, so we can give ourselves the best chance in the other two games.
What would you say the Portuguese mentality is towards Spain? First of all, from the fans, but also from you as a group of players, because let's not forget, you go into this tournament as reigning European champions. You know, you're the heavy hitters, you're the seed in this group, not the Spanish. Definitely,
it's a very, very big rivalry, and it will be like a derby. It's going to be fascinating for sure. Everyone's going to be up for it, and it's a great game to play in. So we look forward to it.
And what have you said? Have you set targets as a group for this World Cup? Do you talk about that or not?
Obviously, we are the European champions. We have our ambitions, but we have to take it game by game, like in the Euros. We are expected to go through to the group stages, and we are confident that we can do that. But we have to keep our feet on the ground and approach game by game like we did in Euros.
When we look at England against Belgium, back to England's group and Group G, the number of different attacking weapons at Roberto Martinez's disposal is frightening.
No, Eden Hazard, Lukaku, De Bruyne, who are all having excellent seasons. So that'll be a very, very tough game. They have got some top quality players in that team, and we've been saying it for a while, I think now. Certainly last tournament, that they should go a distance in the tournament because of the number of players that they have at their disposal now. So that's a tough game, and it'll be one that we'll all look forward to.
Does it help that so many of them are plying their trade in the Premier League? Do those relationships help or hinder, do you think, from an England perspective?
I don't think it matters. I think you do your homework. Whether it's Belgium, whether it's Panama, whether it's Tunisia, Gareth in between now and the World Cup will have every bit of information about every single player, results, past results, form. They'll have everything available to them. So I don't think that matters.
OK, let's try and find out some more about Tunisia, shall we? We've been joined by John Bennett from the BBC World Service. He reported a lot on the qualifying campaigns in Africa ahead of this World Cup. And Tunisia went through that qualifying campaign unbeaten, John. Is that correct?
Yeah, and they showed real character as well because they were away to DR Congo in a crucial game in a really intimidating atmosphere in Kinshasa, probably one of the most intimidating atmospheres in world football, and they were 2-0 down with 13 minutes to go, and they got it back to 2-2. Real test of character, and it ended up being their most important result. So I think they've proved their character in qualifying. They had some really good performances in qualifying, but having said that, I think Gareth Southgate should be relatively pleased to have drawn Tunisia in the group. For me, they're the weakest African team at this World Cup. They do have decent players. Unlike, say, Egypt or Senegal, they're a team that lacks stars, though. I mean, their biggest star is Wabi Kazri, who Sunderland fans will have mixed memories of. They've got a winger who is called Musakni, who is a really good player, plays in Qatar. He's been linked with Arsenal in the past, but at the moment plays in Qatar. He's never really fulfilled his potential. But apart from that, it's a team without stars, and most of them play in domestic football in Tunisia. In fact, out of their last squad, 15 of their 23-man squad played for just 3 teams in the top flight of Tunisian football. So it's a team that lacks stars, but a team with a lot of character, a lot of togetherness, a lot of unity. They'll go there and feel they've got nothing to lose. They'll go there feeling that they can use their flair players like Musakni, like Wabi Kazri to possibly cause an upset. But I think England should be relatively pleased to have drawn Tunisia.
And you said that they're not the strongest of the African sides. Who is the African side that you would look out for at the moment? And obviously there is a caveat to this in that a lot can change by the time we get to June.
Yeah, I was thinking about, before the draw, I was thinking if from an English perspective, who would have I wanted to avoid? For me, the 2 teams I wanted to avoid in the draw from an English perspective were Egypt, because of Mohamed Salah. With Mohamed Salah in the team, they're an excellent team. I think they're a bit one-dimensional without him, so their head coach Hector Couper will be hoping and praying that he doesn't pick up any injury during the Premier League season with Liverpool. I think Nigeria are a team to watch as well because of their star players going forward, the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, Alex Iwobi. But potentially look out for Morocco to cause an upset. They've got their star really is their head coach Hervé Renard, who has won 2 Africa Cup of Nations titles. He won with Zambia in 2012. Amazing achievement to win it with Zambia against all the odds. He won it with Ivory Coast as well, the only manager who really got the best out of the golden generation of Ivory Coast. And now he's taken Morocco to their first World Cup since 1998. And they're in a really tough group, aren't they, Morocco? But expect them to possibly cause an upset because Hervé Renard is very tactically astute, and he's got a group of players there that are very together. And again, they'll feel they've got nothing to lose going to Russia.
That's just what you wanted to hear, Jose, isn't it?
Perfect. It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much to John Bennett. Let's just take a look at the cities where England are going to play their group matches and the amount of travelling that England will have to do because they've come out in G4. You can see there Tunisia against England will be in Volgograd. So that's from their St. Petersburg base. That will be a distance of 960 miles. And then, when they then go back to their base, they will then go to Nizhny Novgorod, and that's nearly, just over 550 miles for the game with Panama. Obviously, they'll then have to fly back, so add that on if you're keeping account of this. And then the final one is Kaliningrad, when they take on Belgium, and again, that's just over 500 miles. 4,066 miles in total. Does the travelling matter for you? We had a debate earlier, you won't have heard it, Jose, of whether the travelling matters or not to the modern player because of the comfort that you travel.
It does, in my opinion, it does have an effect if you're stuck in a plane for a long period of time, and then you have to go on the bus, because normally the airport is not really close to where your base is, so you're going to be in a bus for 2-3 hours. So Russia is a big country as well, so I expect a lot of traveling, and in fact it does it can affect the physical side of the recovery, in my opinion.
Alan?
Well, after England play their first game now, they've got 6 days to recover from that. So I don't see that being a major issue with England, no.
2,400 miles for Portugal in total. And your base is just outside Moscow, and you've got a game in Moscow as well. For you as a player, what do you want from a training camp? Do you like to be in the thick of things? Do you want to be out of the way? What do you want?
I want exactly the same as in France.
Yeah.
Marcus's was fantastic. We was based in the Rugby National Centre, if I'm not wrong, and we had the most amazing facilities. The training ground was fantastic. The gym was incredible. We had swimming pool. We have recovery systems in place. So for us, the most important, the players, is having that at your disposal.
Did you have freedom as well? Because whatever happens in this World Cup, we'll always look for the opposite to happen by the time we come around to the next one, such as the role of the media. To be in the thick of things? Do you want to be out of the way? What do you want?
I want exactly the same as in France.
Yeah.
Marcus's was fantastic. We was based in the Rugby National Centre, if I'm not wrong, and we had the most amazing facilities. The training ground was fantastic. The gym was incredible. We had swimming pool. We have recovery systems in place. So for us, the most important, the players, is having that at your disposal.
Did you have freedom as well? Because whatever happens in this World Cup, we'll always look for the opposite to happen by the time we come around to the next one, such as the role of the media. But
it's vital. You spend around 50 days, if you go all the way to the end, you spend around 50 days together. So our manager, I remember clearly, our manager in France was very good. Every opportunity we had a day off, he would allow us to go into Paris. He would allow us to see our family. He would give us the freedom to, forget a little bit about the stress that we was under. So it's very important to have some time for yourself and to be with your family.
And your manager, Fernando Santos, it seems that he gives you the best facilities, but it always looks like he slept in the car. He's such a...
He's always working. I must say. He's always thinking about how can we win.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're always working, Tim, you can't afford to pamper yourself. It's the job first. You sense, don't you, that Gareth will try and give England a little bit of that freedom if he possibly can.
Well, the big plus point what Gareth has is that he's played in tournaments. So I think that's a big advantage. He knows what to expect. He's been there as a player. I think he understands what's right, what's wrong, what a player needs. So he'll take that into the management side of it, no problem.
Do you think Brazil will find this World Cup a relief in many ways because of the pressure that was on them at the last World Cup as the host World Cup in obviously what is, to use the cliche, a football-mad country?
There's only two results for Brazil. There's winning or there's disgrace almost. So they will clear up some of that stain on the carpet if they win. But looking at their draw, two very interesting aspects for me. One is that they will, assuming that they qualify, the crossover is with Germany's group. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And the other is who they start against, which is the first game is against Switzerland. Now that, for the forward line, for Neymar and Felipe Coutinho, that's a very evocative game, because I'll take you all the way back to the World Under-17 Cup in 2009. Brazil against Switzerland is the last group game. Switzerland win 1-0. Brazil looking for a goal. They take Neymar off because he's so ineffective. Brazil were eliminated in the group phase of that. And I honestly think that Neymar's failure in that tournament, he was hauled off against Mexico in the previous game that Brazil also lost 1-0, that Neymar's failure in that tournament delayed his arrival in Europe.
Right.
It made him realise that global football is more difficult than domestic Brazilian football. So that's a game that I think had an effect on his career, and what a start. You know, at senior level, he's only been on the losing side in one competitive game, which was against Colombia in the Copa America a couple of years ago, and he couldn't cope with it. At the end, he attacked the referee, he got a long suspension. How Neymar reacts to the pressure is going to be one of the great stories of the World Cup. And it couldn't be a more evocative start.
Because arguably he's struggling with some of the pressure at the moment at Paris Saint-Germain. If you read some of the stuff
I don't think he had a great
some of the stuff you read.
I don't think he had a great game against England. And he's a fabulously talented player. But there are times when he wants to do too much. There are times when his game seems to be more about drawing fouls. And the Brazil coach knows that he's got a difficult player to handle. They're a wonderful player. And a player who's he's not a luxury item. He really wants to train. He's a good player in the group. But there is an element of spoilt child about him. This will be the World Cup that he plays closest to his peak, probably. So this is the story of Neymar in this tournament is going to be absolutely fascinating.
Could you play on a player's perceived emotional fragility on the field?
I mean, we're talking about a world-class player. Neymar is one of the top 5 for sure in the world. He's getting experience. He's now at PSG after being in one of the most clubs that are under pressure. The players at Barcelona are always under extreme pressure, adjust every day. I don't think really that mentally we're gonna take any advantage of Neymar. I think he'll be ready. He'll be up for it. And it's going to be very tough to play against him, that's for sure.
No, but we do live in an era, don't we, Alan, whereby there will be certain players who see tournaments as their defining career moment, which maybe we didn't. You know, did Diego Maradona go into '86 thinking he needed to win that World Cup to define him as a player? I don't know.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, when we say about pressure that we put on our team with England, the pressure that Neymar and the pressure that those guys have to put up with is at another level when you consider what the football it means to them and to that country. And that was fascinating when we spent time in Brazil to look at that and to understand that. So with what he has to deal with in his life, I think he'll enjoy this World Cup.
So Switzerland, Costa Rica and Serbia in that Brazil group at the 2018 World Cup. Now, Alan, before the draw, accused me of being negative. So take a look at this. This is England's route to the final. What are you sniggering at? Well, make your mind up. I'm either too negative or too positive.
No, I'm just thinking we've been here so many times.
So this is based, admittedly, this is based on us predicting all the group stage results as well, and means that, and we have predicted that England will win the group. Just go with it, everybody. Be positive. The tournament's miles away. So that would be Colombia in the last six. Blimey, this looks difficult already, doesn't it? Colombia in the last 16. Brazil in the quarter-final, France in the semi-final, and then Germany in the final. But as Jose said to us, you've got to beat them.
Well, that's easy. We're going to win the World Cup, won't we? Simple.
Right. If you're not quite as confident, we're now going to do it as if England were runners-up in the group, and that would then be Poland in the last 16, Germany in the quarter-final, Spain in the semi-final. I apologise, Joe.
Funny enough, I don't see.
No, I apologise. I don't know who's decided that Spain would end up there. Spain in the semi-final and Brazil in the final. Does that mean
that's
more?
That's even easier, isn't it?
That's even easier.
Definitely going to win the World Cup.
I suppose what England will be happy about, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the fact that the last 16 game, if they do get through, would be the Poland, Senegal, Colombia, Japan group. Yes, can you see a positive there?
Yeah, I can see a positive. Yeah, I'm going to go with you. But I'm sure we sat here in 2010 when we had the group. What was it? USA, Slovenia, Algeria, and tried to plot our way through the groups as well. So I think Gareth will be quietly pleased with that group. Yeah.
Let's get some more details on Panama because Manny Jasmi covered this qualification area for the BBC World Service. The feeling in the studio, Manny, is that England will be happy to have come out with Panama.
Absolutely, and I think Panama will be quite happy to have got England and Belgium because, although familiarity has bred contempt for the England national team here, abroad, England are still one of the blue-ribboned names. And, imagine being Panama playing in their first ever World Cup, and they've got England and the stars of Belgium. This week, their coach Hernan Darío Gómez talked about maintaining dignity, so they're not expecting to go through. They're just hoping, to give a good account of themselves. In the qualifiers, they had the oldest team of all the teams who've qualified. They've been gradually progressing in the last few years. They reached the semi-finals of 3 of the last 4 Gold Cups, which is their equivalent of the Euros. But they qualified in extraordinary fashion. I was going to go to their final qualifier, which was against home to Costa Rica, but they lost their penultimate game 4-0 to the USA, and I thought, well, USA just have to get a draw in Trinidad. There's no point going. There's no story there. USA lost, and they won with a goal in the 87th minute after almost 2.5 years of qualifying. They clinched a qualifying place with 3 minutes to go of their entire campaign. So they are there in Russia to have a great time.
Although the other thing in that game, am I not right in thinking that their equaliser didn't actually cross the line?
No, it was a controversial goal, but I mean, that doesn't mean they didn't deserve to be there. They played 16 games in qualifying to get to the World Cup. Nobody expected. I don't think they even expected it either. But they're there. But just a point of order in case everyone thinks that Panama are going to be the whipping boys. As I mentioned, their coach Hernan Darío Gómez, he was the coach of Ecuador, whom he took to the last 16 when they made their World Cup debut in 2002. So he's been around. He knows how to do it. But in that group, I think they will be hoping to score goals, enjoy the games, and not get hammered.
All right, Manny, thank you very much. Trust me, there is nobody in the studio who thinks they're going to be whipping boys. We're all too long in the teeth for that. More reaction to the draw to come. We hope to hear from Gareth Southgate very shortly, but let's whet your appetite for the next couple of minutes. Here are 10 memorable matches from the last 10 World Cups. Croatia and Tim Vickery, Nigeria, yet again. They start with Iceland. Croatia is the middle one, and they end with Nigeria and St. Petersburg.
Indeed, and as we were talking earlier on, they've just played Nigeria and their defence absolutely collapsed against Nigeria in the second half. They were 2-0 up, they ended up losing 4-2. So, what a great start. Argentina against Iceland. And what a fabulous start for Iceland. And it'll be interesting to see how bold Iceland will be, how much they will look to exploit some of the defensive weaknesses in that Argentina side. But Argentina getting out of that group, the crossover is with the group of France. So from that perspective, Brazil's group crosses over with Germany's, Argentina's crosses over with France. From that perspective, I think I'm with you on your positivity now with England.
Argentina will have concerns about that group, will they?
Well, at the moment, Argentina have concerns about their own team. They have a coach, Sampaoli, who wants to press. He wants to press aggressively in your half of the field. He has a midfield that doesn't press. He has a back three who are slow, who then drop very, very deep. And he's playing wingers as wing-backs, and they have to run back 80 metres and defend at the end of it. So that's why they collapsed against Nigeria. So at the moment, Argentina have enough problems just sorting out what their model of play is going to be.
Portugal were in the same group as Iceland, of course, at the Euros. Did you find them a very defensive team?
Well, I heard everyone saying we was in an easy group and we ended up not winning any of the group stages games. So there's no easy games, as we all know. And Iceland, Croatia and Nigeria will be very, very tough opponents to Argentina. This is a fascinating group, in my opinion. This is a tough group. Croatia, we played against Croatia in the Euros, and it was one of the most difficult games that we had. We won in the last couple of minutes only, in the extra time. And Nigeria, obviously with the power and pace that they have and the creative players they have, fantastic group.
Really, really good group. Let's head back to Moscow. We can get Gareth Southgate's reaction to the draw now. He's live with Jonathan Pearce.
Yes, indeed. And I'll take Gareth back to Marseille. France 98 and Tunisia played in the game. It was the opener. It's the opener again.
Yeah, it's the first thing that went through my mind. It was a fantastic day as a player to play in a brilliant occasion, incredible atmosphere our fans made that day. So nice to be able to relive that.
What sort of a side are they?
Well, we've got to find that out now. You know, we haven't done as much research on the African teams as yet. Obviously, we don't have to play them until now, so now's the opportunity. That's what's great. You know where you're playing, who you're playing, and now we can really start to focus in on that.
And how important is it that you've got a break between quite a sizable break, 6 days between that game and the game against the new boys, Panama?
Yeah, well, I guess again, there's a little bit of travelling, and it gives us the opportunity maybe for a couple of injuries if you get them to clear up. So you're always grateful for as much preparation time as possible for any game.
It's their first finals. People will already be writing them off, Gareth, you know that. But then people said Costa Rica wouldn't do anything 4 years ago.
Yeah, we've been good at writing teams off and then getting beaten by them, haven't we? So we've got to make sure that we're prepared for all of those games. It's fantastically exciting now to be here for the draw with every other coach. It's been a great experience and really looking forward to getting on with it now.
And their coach, Dario Gomez, is very experienced, been there already with 2 different countries. Your first World Cup experience counts at this level?
Well, we'll see. You know, as I say, it's been great today mixing with some of the more experienced coaches in terms of World Cups. But of course, Roberto, who we play in the last game, is in the same position as me. So it's nice to have that fresh challenge and really looking forward to it.
That's the final game, Belgium, Kaliningrad. It'll be easier for England fans to get to, not far from St Petersburg where you're based as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So travel-wise, the way the tournament is now, you've got to be adaptable and you're going to be on the road. But kick-off times are decent as well for us, I think, as well.
You said you don't know a lot about Panama or Tunisia, but Belgium, of course, you know, because you see the players every week in the Premier League. Score goals for fun, Gareth, but I'll tell you what, they don't concede either at the other end, do they?
They're an outstanding team. You know, they're ranked where they are in the world because of the quality of players they've got. Since Roberto's been there, he's done a fantastic job. So that is a top quality opposition and a great game to prepare for.
Do you now plot on? Do you say, if we win the group, if we finish second in the group, we have a Poland or a Colombia? Do you do that?
Well, I think we've got to focus on the first game and go from there. You know, the objective's to qualify from the group. You're never quite sure how many points you need for that. And there'll be ups and downs along the way, I'm sure. So we've got to be prepared for all of those things.
And you sat there, Pele was here, they were all here, so Maradona, Gary up on stage as well. I said right at the start, this is the day when people fill out their wall charts. This is do you still have that little boy in you when you come to a World Cup occasion like this? You still feel that buzz you had when you were a kid starting off?
Well, you know, through the qualifying campaign, you don't necessarily think about days like today where all of that hits home, and that is the beauty of the World Cup. You know, you watch the previous finals, the big games, the big players, and it does take you back to that pureness of football, and that's what something like today is about. The whole country now knows what's coming, they can get excited about it, we can start preparing for it, and that's why it's so fantastic to be involved again.
Long time since we stood on that pitch at Villa Park. You organised that penalty shootout before the semi-final, didn't you? For the youth team players, I think it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's been, for me personally, an incredible journey. To play in a World Cup for my country was an incredible honour. To lead my country there as a manager is beyond that. So I'm really looking forward to being able to do it.
Good luck, Gareth. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Jonathan. Thank you.
Gareth Southgate live with Jonathan Pearce. His tournament experience, you already mentioned it, Alan, but his tournament experience will be vitally important to the younger players.
Hugely important, and I think that's one of the big advantages that he has as a manager, that he's been away for 5 or 6 weeks. He knows what it's like to be there. He knows what's required. He knows what makes a player tick and what a player doesn't want. And I think that'll be a big advantage to him.
Let's bring in another point of view. Former England winger Chris Waddle joins us from the BBC Sports Centre. Do you look at that group and sense a rant in 7 months' time coming on, or are you going to be quite calm?
No, it could be a rant, couldn't it? I expect England to be, if not first, second. Belgium's a great team, great players. We know a lot about them. But again, in tournaments where they're expected to go on and get the semis minimum, they haven't done it. This is their tournament now. I think if they want to actually stamp themselves around the world and say to people, listen, we are a class outfit, they've got the players, but they'll be under a lot of pressure as well. But as for the other teams in the group, Panama and Tunisia, very unknown quantities. very, very beatable, let's be honest.
Belgium must bring back some special memories for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, David Platt free kick, yeah. Great, it sort of got going that and probably got the country going after that result, so 1990. So, yeah, I think they're a better side now than when we played them, put it that way. So, listen, we've got nothing to lose again, and let's hope we can go there and relax and play.
But it got everybody going. That's the point, because you weren't going in the... I mean, the group stages in 1990 were absolutely dire.
Yeah, I think every team thought the same. I think it was a funny group. We had Egypt and Ireland and Holland, so we got ourselves through it. And I've always said the hardest part of the tournament was getting out of the group. And you know, nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to put a point on the board. Don't get beat first game, and it comes very tactical. Teams get really nervous and scared at times. So you know, it's trying to settle them down. But you know, when you're playing, no disrespect to Panama. We had Egypt, which we did win 1-0, but I think it was a set-piece. Mark Wright scored. So there's no easy games, but let's be honest, in world football, you expected, if you're going to do well in a tournament, you've got to beat them too.
Is there a group at the moment that excites you the most, having looked at that draw? I don't know if you've got it all in front of you. You might have to go off memory.
Argentina, who might not qualify. They miss out. Nigeria, excellent side as well. So I'm not sure if Argentina will get through.
Chris, thank you very much. Chris Waddle in the BBC Sport Centre. Are we going to get more reaction from Moscow? We could do that now. Let's hear from one of England's group opponents. Here's the Belgian manager, Roberto Martinez.
It was inevitable, huh? Can we live?
Roberto, what a draw that is for you, having left English shores and now meeting England in the crunch game, the last game.
It is almost, as they say, football is a way of living, and I lived almost 21 years in the British game and in England, so it's a very special draw. But as we know, it's the World Cup and it's about preparation now. We got a challenging draw for England and Panama, Tunisia and ourselves. I think it's a challenging group in terms of the travelling. It's probably the longest or the most demanding group in terms of the travelling arrangements. But I think we're looking forward to what we're going to find.
And you are a country in unbelievable form. It's a record unbeaten run you're on at the moment. What is that down to? We know individual talent, but what have you done to give them that durability?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we got a real competitive group. Our players, they are in a very good moment of their careers. As you know, probably 25 players of Belgian football are now in the British game, so we are very well-known names for the British public. Players with important roles in important teams, and players that they really enjoy coming together and representing the country. So I think it's the clear basics of enjoying what you do, and they are great ambassadors for Belgian football. So we're looking forward to the preparation now, which is key before we start the World Cup.
Good luck with it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank
Roberto Martinez with Jonathan Pearce. Now that draw's come out, then Josie, excited? Portugal and Spain.
Very excited. Very excited. You know, I can't wait for the first game, but first I need to get fit and get selected.
But what a carrot that is!
It's amazing. You couldn't hope for a better game, a tougher game against big rivals. So let's be up for it.
Who's going to win it?
I will tell you definitely on July the 15th.
Oh,
but, you know...
You've got 10 seconds. Who's going to win it?
For now, let's just savour it. The World Cup is a United Nations for the common man. Bring it on.
Who's going to win it? If you tell me football's the winner after that draw, France?
Yes.
Because of their strength in depth?
Yeah, they've got a good team, some very, very good players.
OK, but that's not a bad draw for England?
No, that's not a bad draw at all.
OK. Alan, Tim, Jose, thank you very much for joining us. Just 6 months into the World Cup starts, and it's live on the BBC. We'll see you in Russia. Bye-bye.